So, and the arrangement is to make the podcast irrelevant in 10 years from now.
Mm.
So, roughly by 2032.
Yeah.
My question to you is, what would be your expert advice to get there, to make the
Yeah.
podcast irrelevant? And irrelevant in this context would mean that diversity in tech is just normal.
Yeah. I think that I'm a little biased. My way of dealing with it is to, you know, become more of conceptual technologists, bring
Uh
more
huh.
conceptual technologists to the world, because I really think that this is absolutely the right way of thinking, right? So, we want are to represent humanity as we've been talking about, and in
Yeah.
order to represent humanity, that means everybody has to be there.
Yeah.
And so once everyone is there, a podcast like this becomes completely irrelevant because we it's expected. So
Yeah.
it should not be a shock or a surprise to have someone like me or someone like Jacqueline that's working in these spaces. It should be
Mm.
the norm and
Yeah.
expected 10 years from now. I completely
Yeah.
agree.
Welcome to Women Disrupting Tech. My name is Dirk Jan Upkes, and on this podcast I give the women who work in tech the platform they need to inspire and empower each other. Join me on a journey into the world of entrepreneurship, funding, biases and role models to discover the strategies for success in the tech industry. In other words, how women can disrupt tech. Are you ready to listen? Hey, welcome back to Women Disrupting Tech. Thank you for listening to episode number 52. Technologies like AI can change how we understand the world and ourselves. But, like many other technologies, AI is not yet inclusive. And that is a pity because we leave opportunities for growth and improvement on the table. So, how can we change that? And do conceptual technologists have a role to play? This is where today's guest comes in, because Kim Carson is a conceptual technologist and AI futurist. Her NGO, Parallax Futures, brings previously unused perspectives to the foreground by ensuring that they get the support they need. Kim has enjoyed a wide variety of leadership roles, both in tech and in academia. As an employee of both a tech startup and later at IBM, she has been involved in introducing new technologies since the beginning of this century. In this episode of Women Disrupting Tech, we follow Kim's journey to discover what a conceptual technologist is, how her learnings from 25 years in tech help her address the complexity of 21st century tech, how Parallax Futures supports conceptual technologists inspire a positive future, and how she persuaded Reid Hoffman to support her journey. So, when you're ready to listen and learn how tech can be an agent for positive societal change, please welcome to Women Disrupting Tech, Kim Carson. Hey, good morning to you, Kim.
Good morning.
Question I always ask at the start of the podcast is how you got into your current job or current position, and start wherever you want.
Yeah, I think I talk a lot about having been in AI for a long time. So I actually entered into artificial intelligence in 2015. That was when I began working for Watson at IBM. So kind of the first foray into enterprise artificial intelligence, and was pretty lucky, I feel like, because I got to work in a specific social impact kind of project with Watson.
Hmm.
And that actually really spurred me into thinking about how we use AI not just to make us more efficient, but also to make a big impact and kind of uplift humanity as a whole.
Yeah. And then now you're the founder and CEO of Parallax Futures.
Right.
Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Sure. So, Parallax Futures is a non-governmental organization, an NGO,
Hmm.
and our mission is really to inspire a much more positive future by creating a new type of AI innovator, which we call conceptual technologists. And that is really what we do. We have a fellowship program where folks are nominated. They go through a learning kind of module with us for 5 months, and they're
Hmm.
really learning how to become better at creating ventures, products, policy that can really help our expand our humanity.
Okay. So you mentioned conceptual technologist. Can
Yes.
you explain a bit, tell us a bit more about that? What is it?
Yeah. So a conceptual technologist is someone that is coming to us from a variety of different perspectives, disciplines, backgrounds, perspectives,
Hmm.
and they are trained to innovate within the field of AI by combining a number of things: creativity, technology, as well as kind of social impact, and how big problems can be solved using AI, and cultural context. So, really looking at what's going on today as a part of that process of innovation.
Okay. So, but it's also about, is it also about having a multidisciplinary look at things?
Yeah, exactly. So when I'm talking about different perspectives, we call that multidimensional diversity.
Hmm.
So we're talking about not just kind of social or racial diversity, but we're actually talking about disciplinarity. We're talking about life paths. We're talking about career
Hmm.
portfolios. So our goal when we create a cohort of fellows is really to get as many perspectives as we can into that cohort.
Okay. So talk to me about the cohorts. Do you then want to make, is a cohort a set of startup founders, or is it a group of individuals who can then later become one
Yes.
quote unquote
So
startup?
it's definitely the latter. We're looking.
Okay.
We have some folks actually in our current cohort that are from big tech. We have some
Uh-huh.
folks that are actually founders or want to become founders. We actually have some art practitioners, so people that actually create big art. And so what we're
Mm.
looking for is how we get a true representation of humanity. I think for me in the field of AI, I believe that what we want to get to is AI to actually represent us all. And in order to do
Mhm.
that, we need to have the most diverse group of people actually
Yeah.
interacting with the AI as possible.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe also for the audience, explain why that is important. That if we want AI to represent us all, that we really need that we cannot leave it to just a big couple of tech nerds.
Yeah.
Uh, all due respect, by the way,
Yeah.
to all those very knowledgeable people,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
we cannot leave it to just tech nerds to invent that for us.
Correct. So I think, before I was in AI, I was in analytics. And so
Hmm.
data, we always used to talk about the expression garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah.
Right. And so as we are feeding these models and as we are trying to get the models to actually represent us, it's really,
Mm-hmm.
really important that we have a whole different variety of people that weigh in. One example I think of this is right now I'm working with a company on a kind of deep fake technology, and
Mm-hmm.
they asked me to model. So I gave them a bunch of selfies, and they're putting me in all these great situations. And the AI is really, really bad at things for me like skin tone,
Mm-hmm.
just my general ethos, and it's because everyone who has been actually, you know, making these models and kind of standing up these GPTs as we call them
Mm-hmm.
is looks the same, and so they
Yeah.
don't think about things like skin tone and body type and all of this type of thing. And so really important, I think, for me to make sure that we as humans are a rainbow of things, and so the AI really needs to have all of us feed into it in order to put that back out into the world.
Yeah. Also to avoid the garbage in is garbage out aspect.
Correct. Absolutely. I mean, I was just having a conversation with someone the other day,
Hmm.
and it was very funny. I said, it's not just that it's the same or that it's people that look alike that are the tech nerds that we were just talking about. It's actually the same people. So if we think about like Internet 2.0 and
Yeah.
Internet 3.0, the people that are actually feeding into the AI are the people that we're doing the last kind of version of internet, right? Like
Hmm.
of the big things that we take for granted today. And so we know that there's a lot of problems that have come from that. And so
Hmm.
why are we repeating the same cycle over again? It's obvious to me that we need to have more people represented, more people at the table.
Yeah, that to me that's actually a bit of a revelation that it's the same people,
Yeah.
because then indeed you get the same problems in with the solutions.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And so, I think that, good for them. They've made a lot of money on
Hmm.
that kind of first iteration,
Yeah,
but there has been a lot of problems, and so, they're kind of leading the forefront now of this next revolution, evolution,
yeah,
and that to me is problematic.
yeah. Is that also uh, because of biases that we all hold, that we
Yeah.
think, okay, these people have been successful in the past, so they will be successful in the future as well?
Yeah, I think so. And I don't think that we'll ever eliminate all bias from AI, because as representative of humanity, we all have bias.
Yeah.
But I think it's really important for us to acknowledge that and do what we
Hmm.
can to, just as we would as humans, educate ourselves, try to notice when we have something that's biased, and try to do the best thing that's in alignment with our values.
Yeah. So I think also going back to the conceptual technologist definition, it's also that you conceptual technology just want to do something positive with
Correct.
the future, right?
Correct.
Um, we just talked about the AI part, that just by if we can just add some selfies of non-white cis men
Yeah.
to take that example into AI, you can get better face recognition probably,
Sure.
and also yeah.
Exactly. And
As a
so,
result, also maybe better AI on the health tech, because you can actually spot dark spots in the skin
yes.
in different people, not
Yes.
because they're just darker, they just have a darker skin tone. But
Yeah. That's a very funny thing that you mentioned, because I was just having a conversation with a friend who is a health tech CEO, and I
uh-huh.
was telling her that I actually personally have a hard time with blood pressure cuffs that are automatic, and it has to do with my skin tone. And I
Oh,
tell doctors all the time, like, you have to use the manual; it's not going to work. And sure enough, they're like, well, we'll try this first, and every time they get an inaccurate reading, and I'm like, I'm telling you.
yeah.
So there's another example, right? Like, if we don't have I don't know who designed blood pressure cuffs, the automatic
Mhm.
ones, but I'm guessing that those people had certain kind of skin tone. And
Yeah,
so once there's variation, then you get inaccuracy, and that could be really dangerous.
yeah. So, what other problems can conceptual technologists better solve than, let's say, the average, quote unquote, average tech nerd?
Yeah, so I think that there are real questions that we have about values alignment. So we
Hmm.
talk about values alignment a lot, but we haven't really talked about the underlying concepts that drive those values. And
Yeah.
so I think a lot about, we kind of categorize things as human. As humans, we categorize things into kind of these big chunks of things, but we
Yeah.
very rarely question those categories, and whether or not they still serve us. And sometimes the
Hmm.
technology comes along, like AI, that disrupts those categories for us. So, for
Hmm.
example, I think that people normally think about human things, natural things, and technological things. And
Yeah.
what we have is in AI and some other technology as well is kind of this overflow of those categories. It's not
Mm-hmm.
human, it's
Yeah.
not natural, it's not really technological. It's kind of all of those things.
Yeah.
And so, until we sit down and actually talk about what those big things are, we can't get to the things that we're constantly talking about today, like truth. Like
Yeah.
what does truth actually mean? Until we like kind of acknowledge that there are concepts that we live by and that
Mm.
we take for granted,
Yeah.
and start to talk about where the commonalities are or what needs to be done with those concepts, then we can't get to the things that are actually plaguing us right now, which is things like truth
Yeah.
and things like what will AI do for us? Is it should it be treated like something that serves us, or should it be treated like something that's more of a companion? And so I think
What do
with
you think, by the way?
yeah. I am definitely of the mindset that it should be more of a companion and should have its own kind of, respect and
Mm-hmm.
its own kind of almost mentoring, guiding kind of a thing. So instead of taking work from us, I think about things like creativity and like
Mm.
guiding us into new spaces of creativity. So now that we have access to all of this kind of, compute or this intelligent power
Yeah.
beyond our brain power, then I think it could enhance the things that we do that are inherently human,
Yeah.
which is things like creativity or things like connection, communion with one another. So
Mm-hmm.
giving us the opportunity to actually explore new spaces as opposed to just taking over things that we already do that may be broken, quite frankly.
Yeah. So it's not about productivity per se, but more about what it can help you do.
Right. Correct.
Okay. Um, so you told me I want to switch gears a bit
Yep.
because you told me that you used to work for IBM Watson.
Hmm.
Um, and if I read correctly on your LinkedIn profile, you actually were in the lead of the go-to-market of that, the
Yes.
education part.
Yes.
Um, how does that help you in your current role?
Oh boy. There's a tremendous linkage, right? So,
Uh-huh.
I think I always say that I feel very fortunate that I entered AI not from the space of productivity, but actually from the space of social impact.
Mm-hmm.
And so Watson Education was a chatbot way pre Chat GPT that was a teacher companion for schools here in the States that were impacted, which is, to say lots of kids in a classroom, teachers that are overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
And unable to really give personalized attention to each student.
Yeah.
And so we were on the forefront of kind of creating a companion for those teachers that allowed them to, take everything that they know about you, data, skills, etc., and then personalize your learning pathway. So help you, really dig into things that were good for you, and that really impacted what I do today,
Mm-hmm.
because it enabled me to see what AI could actually be used for when it comes to some of the big problems we're dealing with right
Yeah.
now, currently, right? Like so things like education, things like climate, things that have really a big impact on all of us. Instead of just thinking about, oh, how can it write marketing copy for me? Like that was kind of actually the last, thing that I was thinking about when I was thinking about AI. I was thinking about, oh wow, we've got this ability now to deal with things like loneliness, which we know after the pandemic has been a big, huge issue, or things
Yeah.
like companionship for elder care. Now there's ability almost to scale our humanity, and doing so, we can really tackle big things. And so I think that Watson Education was the beginning of me going, huh, there's much more that we could do
Yeah.
with this technology.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's also beautiful to help people, especially when they're learning something, uh, to really focus on the things that matter for them. And I
exactly.
guess that starts with getting some extra help on the math
Yeah,
or on the language part.
exactly.
But it also, yeah, it also gives people. Do you think that will have just as a question, because it's always seen, if you see it as a companion, I can sort of envision that we have this personal robot I was about to say, who guides us, yeah, maybe
Yeah.
by
No.
helping them
Yeah,
do things, but
exactly.
also in the health space. Well, it's
Yes.
time to take your medication, or it's
Yes.
time, let me
Yes.
take your blood pressure.
Absolutely. I think that there's really a democratization that's going to happen around this idea of a companion. Like maybe it's a
Hmm.
companion for life, maybe it's a subject matter companion, like it's for
Yeah,
school or it's for
yeah.
health. But we may get to a future where you just get a companion when you're born, and that thing gets to learn you and kind of the space of you. You become the data set for that
Hmm.
AI companion, and as you grow, it grows and kind of helps you along the way. I think there could be a lot of real positive things that happen because of that.
Yeah. One of the things that I would be afraid of is that my personal AI
Mm.
bot would be hacked in some way, shape, or form.
Sure.
Um, can conceptual technologists also, yeah, I was about to say, do something about that, or
Yeah.
is it part of what the skill set that they have on board?
Sure. So definitely, this is something that we talk about a lot, and I think there's I'm not a utopian person, so
Hmm.
it's not that I think that there will be no bad actors. There's always bad
Yeah,
actors,
yeah,
but I also am a big believer in the fact that there are more people that kind of have this. Positive outlook, or we call it protopian kind of viewpoint, then there are people that are out to do something wrong.
yeah,
And so I think, for me, it's about building a movement of these conceptual technologists that are looking at these things from a positive perspective.
yeah,
I may not be able to stop every bad actor there is, but I think as
yeah.
if we can scale the idea of conceptual technology, then we have a chance at really, combating those bad actors and being a force for good, a bigger force for good than there is a force for evil.
Is it then also because they have such different backgrounds? You have a team
Yes.
with different, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
So it's the ultimate form of diversity,
Yep.
almost.
Yep.
Okay. So with another thing that I learned about you that you told me is that you're backed by Reid Hoffman.
Yes.
For context of the listeners, this is one of the co-founders of LinkedIn, and this is like really a well-known person in the tech startup space.
Yeah.
So, how did that come about?
Yeah, so the original kind of conception of Parallax Futures was an organization called TOFT,
Hmm.
Transformation of the Human. It was an organization I had co-founded with a friend
Hmm.
who's a philosophy professor,
Hmm.
and that professor actually had some contact with Reed, and so we were able to meet with Reed very early, and he backed that organization as well. And
Ah,
so there is a funny thing that some people know, not many people know, but Reed wanted to be a philosophy professor himself before
ah,
getting into technology. He wanted to be one of the great thinkers of our time. I think he still is one of the great thinkers of our time. And he really thinks about these things from a big philosophical perspective, and has said that the reason that he went into tech instead is because he thought tech had a bigger impact to scale. So you could be a philosophy professor at Oxford, and
hmm,
maybe reach a couple of people, or you could develop a product that could reach millions of people. And so he chose to do the millions of people route.
ah. So it's also about the impact. So what does he only add money, or does he add also his personal viewpoints on? this?
Mostly financial support is what we get from Reed, but we also the way that we do the cohorts is through nomination. And so, as Reed comes across people that he thinks may be a good fit, he can nominate them to the program, and actually, definitely helps us out in terms of thinking about people and not product. There's enough kind of AI product company out there,
Yeah,
but thinking about how we impact people is really what I care about.
yeah.
And so he's a big supporter of that, and trying to help me think about how we might do that at scale.
Oh, that's really, yeah. Well, it's only fitting, I
Yeah.
would say, if you're talking about conceptual technologists.
Yes.
Um, so we briefly already talked about your fellowship program.
Hmm.
Uh, can you tell us a bit more on how you support people who want to maybe are or maybe want to be a conceptual technologist and maybe
Yes.
want to, yeah, be part of a bigger movement?
Yes, absolutely. The program, the full fellowship is 5 months long. And as I said, people are nominated to come into the fellowship. We start with a week, a really intense week, which we call the Learning Week, which we
Hmm.
learn about concepts and their foundations. We do a little bit of AI work. So we talk about the different types of tools that actually already exist. We have
Hmm.
a primer and we have some pre work that folks go through, and they actually start to build things in those tools. And so that's the beginning parts of the fellowship. Then we
Hmm.
spend a couple of months in what I call exploratory phase. So there are some kind of people further along, we call them senior fellows, that are
Hmm.
working on some big products or projects. And our fellows actually rotate through their projects to figure out how they get inspired or they got inspired, what made
Uh-huh.
them want to tackle this one particular area.
Uh-huh.
And the key is to inspire them. And now at the
Uh-huh.
end, we have this thing we call build.
Hmm.
And so build is basically the capstone project. So
Hmm.
now you've learned, now you've been inspired, and now you're going to build something
Hmm.
that ends up in what we call showcase. So showcase is the cross between kind of an art exhibit and a demo day,
Yeah.
where people actually talk about how they were inspired. And demonstrate things that they've developed to show their prowess in conceptual technology. We are also ending the program with a badge. So, LinkedIn, you can do those skills badges.
Yeah.
So, we're working with folks to actually make this a real competency,
Yeah.
a real skill competency with different levels of competency. And so that's how we support the conceptual technologists. The full program is the fellows receive a stipend.
Hmm.
And so that's to work on their final project. But we're looking at many other kinds of ways to create impact. So whether
Yeah.
that's a one-day workshop or that's a customized program or maybe some white label curriculum for
Hmm.
something you're already doing, as a way to insert this competency of conceptual technology into the way we are learning about AI and the way that we're tackling AI globally. And
Yeah.
so that's really how it works. And we have many plans for how we expand and start to reach more people and really get people to join the movement.
Hmm.
I think you mentioned people that may already be conceptual technologists. Yes,
Yeah.
people may already be conceptual technologists that are thinking this way. We find them all the time. We've made some honorary ones
Uh-huh.
and ask them to advise and support and mentor the fellows that we have.
Okay. And if let's say it's nomination based, right?
Correct.
So if
Correct.
I know a
Yes,
person who
you're
is
now a part of our network, and so
yeah,
if as we go through the nomination cycle, I'll reach out and
yeah,
please, if you know people that are interesting and interested, then we would love
yeah.
to have them.
I don't know if they're interested or if she's interested, but I have a person in mind who would be,
Awesome,
I think, would be a good fit,
awesome.
and who has been a previous guest, by the way.
Oh, wonderful.
Talking about previous guests on that particular point, I have an arrangement with Jacqueline van den Ende,
Mhm.
And she's also one of my previous guests, not the one I had in mind, by the way. Uh, Jacqueline is the co-founder of Carbon Equity,
Hmm.
and they invest in a better, or they deploy money as a weapon against climate change.
I love that.
Yeah, me too. So, and the arrangement is to make the podcast irrelevant in 10 years from now.
Mm.
So, roughly by 2032.
Yeah.
My question to you is, what would be your expert advice to get there, to make the
Yeah.
podcast irrelevant? And irrelevant in this context would mean that diversity in tech is just normal.
Yeah. I think that I'm a little biased. My way of dealing with it is to, you know, become more of conceptual technologists, bring
Uh
more
huh.
conceptual technologists to the world, because I really think that this is absolutely the right way of thinking, right? So, we want are to represent humanity as we've been talking about, and in
Yeah.
order to represent humanity, that means everybody has to be there.
Yeah.
And so once everyone is there, a podcast like this becomes completely irrelevant because we it's expected. So
Yeah.
it should not be a shock or a surprise to have someone like me or someone like Jacqueline that's working in these spaces. It should be
Mm.
the norm and
Yeah.
expected 10 years from now. I completely
Yeah.
agree.
Do you think it's feasible?
I do. I do think it's feasible. I think that, with the things that we're creating and with the things that AI enables us to create,
Uh-huh.
we're getting to this point of democratization. So let's go back to, the Watson education kind of everybody has a personal AI
Yeah.
thing. We're starting to level the playing field around access to these things, and that's really important to me. That's actually one of the reasons why we're a nonprofit as opposed to a
Yeah.
for-profit organization is because I want to make sure that everyone has access to these types of programs, to these types of skills,
Mm-hmm.
and that helps us to get to the space of where this is irrelevant 10 years from now. We no longer need to talk about diversity in AI or diversity in tech.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like a great place to wrap.
Yes.
Thank you very much for the wonderful conversation. Really enjoyed this.
Yes.
Last question: where can listeners learn more about you, about Parallax Futures, and about your fellowship?
Yes. So the best way to find out what we're up to is to visit our website, which
Mm-hmm.
is parallaxfutures.org. And they can get all sorts of information about nomination cycles and how to get nominated, and
Mm-hmm.
more information about current news and things that we're up to.
Good. And we'll include those links in the show notes.
Wonderful.
So, Kim Carson, really thank you very much. Really
Thank you.
enjoyed this conversation.
Me too.
Listeners, thank you very much for listening. And I hope to see you in the next episode. Well, that's a wrap. Thank you for listening to the 52nd episode of Women Disrupting Tech with Kim Carson on how conceptual technologists can help us use tech as an agent for positive societal change. Kim and I hope that you've enjoyed our conversation as much as we did. If you want to learn more about Kim, about Parallax Futures, and about the fellowship that they're offering, feel free to connect with Kim via the links in the show notes. As usual, you can find the show notes at womendisruptingtech.blog. On the same website, you can also become a member of the Women Disrupting Tech community. And as a member, you get exclusive access to Women Disrupting Tech events, and you're the first to learn when new episodes or blogs come online. When you're a woman looking for a career in tech and you're looking for a role model to inspire your own hero's journey, check out one of the other episodes of this podcast on Spotify, Apple, Google, Goodpods, or Podbean. And if you're a regular listener, please give the show a rating or a review because that way you help other people discover the podcast. If you're a male ally and you want to help Kim and the other 51 women disrupting tech make this podcast obsolete by 2032, there's a simple thing you can do. Please share the podcast with friends, family, and coworkers because this way you give Kim and my other guests the platform they need to make it happen. Finally, if you want to connect with me, please reach out via dirkjan at womendisruptingtech.blog or send me a DM on LinkedIn. Just look up my name and you'll find me there. With that, I wish you a wonderful day. Hope to see you in the next episode. And in the meantime, keep being awesome.